Hi everyone, and welcome to our short video on flexible and remote learning at Taylors Lake Secondary College. As we're all aware, Term 2 didn't start as normal. Instead of all heading back to school, many of us are working remotely. As you'd be aware, the government has said that all students that can learn from home must learn from home. This presents challenges for all of us, students, families and teachers, but working together we will be able to get through this. The aim of this video is to clarify a few key points around flexible and remote learning and address some questions that people have raised along the way. One of the most important steps to flexible and remote learning is to create an environment at home or a space within the house where you can set up your learning environment. Some things to consider when doing this is making sure there's good lighting, organising a desk or table so that you can set it up with your materials for each class. After attending an online class, it's a good idea to put those materials away if you're not working on that subject anymore and getting out the materials for your next class so that you've got the things you want right nearby when you need them. Another important factor is to remove as many distractions as possible. It's not always going to be possible to have a completely silent environment. There are lots of other people at home and working at home. But where possible, if you can do things like make sure the TV is not on, make sure you don't have a whole lot of other programs and apps running in the background, whether that's gaming software or messaging software that's likely to have pop-ups that distract you, and considering where your mobile phone is while you're in your dedicated working time. There may be times during the school day where you need to take your phone out, for example, to take a picture of your work so you can easily upload it to Compass. But for the most part, when you don't need to do that, it would be a really good plan to put your phone somewhere else in the house so that it's not there distracting you while you're trying to focus on perhaps an online lesson or completing a learning task that you want to hand in. The other really important thing is all this is just like when you're at school, you would normally be moving around, having breaks, eating well. So make sure you plan and build in some regular times where you maybe stretch or exercise or take a break from your learning, and make sure during this time that you're eating well so that you're in the best possible position to be able to concentrate the most and get the most out of the time that you do set aside to do your study. One of the biggest challenges when working flexibly and remotely is still being able to keep organised. But there's tools that you already have that you can continue to use to do this. You could use your college diary to record the work that you need to complete each week. So perhaps one of the jobs you do on a Monday is to go through and write that work down. Also, recording the times for your online classes so that you know when they are, and then you can be ready for those as they happen. You might use a calendar, perhaps even within your laptop, to record those times as well so that it can send you a reminder in perhaps 10 minutes before the class to give you that time to get organised for each online session. In terms of submitting work, it's important to submit work as soon as you finish it. Try to submit something every day. That way you don't get to Friday and you've got a whole lot of things that aren't quite finished and you're feeling overwhelmed because you've got to try and submit everything. So if you can submit one or two things each day, that will keep you on track for the week. Also, another step that's really, really important, if you're having any trouble at all with the work, you need to make sure you ask your teacher for help. Now, you might be doing this via an email, but whilst you've submitted the question, go on with something else, something that might be from the same subject or a different subject, something so you can keep moving forward with the work while you wait for that response. Because at the time you send your email, the teacher might be in another online class and may not be able to respond straight away, or they might be in an online meeting as well. So have other work you can go on with while you're waiting for that response. But never hesitate to send the email straight away, because that's when you're thinking about the particular problem or issue you're having, and the teacher will then get back to you as quickly as they can. Working and studying from home is a very new concept for many of us. So even as a household, it'll be about developing new routines for the family. And you need to be patient with other people in your family, whether it's your parents who are also trying to juggle working from home, or perhaps you've got older siblings who are working from home. You might have siblings who are also studying remotely. And within the household, everyone's needs will need to be met, but it might involve some juggling. So it's important to be flexible and work with the rest of your family and support them in the work they have to do. You should also remember that your parents are there for support and encouragement. So please, if they're reminding you about things you need to get done, bear in mind it's coming from that support and encouragement. They want to help you to do your best. They understand that it's different to coming to school each day and doing your work, and they're trying to encourage you and help you. Another thing it's important to remember is that your teacher is still your teacher. And when we say that, we mean that if you've got questions about the learning or about how to go about starting a task, or you're feeling overwhelmed, use your teacher in the same way you normally would. Send them off an email or communicate with them via Microsoft Teams. Their role is to help and support you with the actual learning. Sometimes when we're getting a bit frustrated or we do feel a bit stressed about the work, we can start to express it as negative behaviours and get really annoyed with the people around us in that home environment. And it's important to take a couple of minutes out to calm down and to either let your family know how you're feeling or contact one of your teachers and let them know that you need that help. So what does a typical week of remote learning really look like? Well, there's a few key things and key elements in the week. On Mondays, it would be really important to log into Compass and start to make a list of the work you need to do. You can find this in the lesson plan in each of your classes that are on your Compass timetable. That will tell you the resources you can use, the work that needs to be completed. Then, during the week, there'll be online classes. So if a subject runs for up to 3 periods a week, you could expect that there's going to be one online session. For subjects that run 4 and 5 periods a week, there will be 2 online sessions. And those are an opportunity to come together with your classmates and your teacher to clarify content, to ask questions, to really check in on how you're going with that work and get that extra support you might need. So there's going to be some times when you are online working with your teachers. At other times, you might be completing set tasks that have already been set in those lesson plans on Compass, and you're working through the work, getting it done. It's really important not to sort of just go, oh, well, I'll jump ahead and just look at the task. I won't do any of the pre-reading or watch the video the teachers suggested, things like that. Taking shortcuts like that is going to make it a lot more difficult for you in the long run, and then you'll find perhaps when you're submitting that work it either won't be of the best quality it could be, or when you're going to go to submit it you can't finish it because you haven't done the pre-reading or watched the other support materials that the teachers provided. So it's important to make sure you look at all those resources the teachers providing on Compass, and don't try to take too many shortcuts there because they're ultimately going to probably mean that things take you longer to get done. The next step is that once you've finished a particular week's work, you're submitting it. So submitting that learning task so that then the teacher can have a look at it and see how you're going. That means they're in a better position then to give you some feedback on what's next for you. And you also get that sense of achievement because I've done some of the work, I'm getting through this, and it starts to feel more manageable. Now let's have a look a bit closely at what each day might look like, and each day might be slightly different. One thing that's very important is that you keep a bit of a routine and structure for yourself. So it's still important to get up at a regular time and be ready to start schoolwork at 9 a.m. That way it's not going to drag on into the evening and you're not going to be up really late at the other end of the day doing schoolwork. So set yourself a routine. Make sure you know which online classes you might have scheduled for that day so that you can build in your other work times and your break times around that. Attend those online classes. If there is a particular reason on one particular day that you might have to miss one of those classes, perhaps you've got a medical appointment to go to, for example, then it's really important that you let your teacher know that that's happening for you. So make sure you've done that before the class starts. During those classes, be an active participant, be involved in any discussions that the teacher might have, ask any clarifying questions that you might need to. A good thing to do is to use the chat function alongside the class to type in any questions you might have, and that way the teacher can address those during the session. The rest of your day then is about planning out how you're going to complete some of your work. So on a day you have an online class, you may want to focus particularly on the work for that class, plus maybe one or two other classes, and getting some work done and submitted. One of the key steps to this is to making sure if at any stage at all, and I know we've said this earlier, but anytime you have a question, post that question to the teacher in the form of an email or through Microsoft Teams. Teachers will let you know what's going to be the best way to communicate with them, and just follow that through. Write the question, send it off to them when you think of it. If after a little while you think you've come up with the answer yourself, then just let them know it. Say, it's okay, I've worked the answer out to that. It is important to also schedule in breaks, so make sure you do have breaks within the day. You don't want to be sitting at a desk the whole day and not getting up and moving around. You want to allow time to do the normal things you would do, like eat, communicate with other people, whether they're in your household or via some sort of technology if they're not, and taking breaks. You can't concentrate solidly for what you would think would be a normal school day, and no one would expect you to do that. But when you do schedule a break, it's really important to say, okay, I'm going to take a 20-minute break now. If you need to, set a timer of some sort so that you know when that breaks up, because sometimes a 20-minute break can become a half-hour break, can lead to an hour break, and, oh yes, I should get back to that work. And that's when things will start to feel like they're snowballing a bit. So provide some structure around your day, and when you commit to, I'm going to work on this piece of work for half an hour, 40 minutes, do it. And then when you say, I'm going to have a break for, say, 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, that's the length of the break you're taking, and you know to come back to the work straight after that. One of the things that students and parents might be most worried about is, what do I do if we're having trouble with the work? How do I, as a student, let my teacher know that I'm having trouble? And there's a number of ways you can do this. You can do this during your online classes, and in the chat function there, put up the question or ask the teacher, can you go over that again? I need some more information on this. I don't quite understand this particular thing. By doing that, the teacher will be able to then monitor that and give feedback and give further detail and explanation of things. And they might check in with you to say, was that enough? Do you need more? What can we do to help and support you? Some students may not at first feel comfortable doing that, and they might feel better just by sending an email through to the teacher with their questions in it. So whilst they're sitting there doing their work, have an email open, and any questions they have they can type in, and then they can send that off to the teacher. This is going to be really important, because in a normal classroom where the teacher and the students are together, sometimes when students don't necessarily put their hand up, teachers can see from the way they're reacting or from the look on their face that they're a bit stressed or that they didn't quite understand something. However, in this remote learning environment, that's not going to be something teachers are going to be able to easily do. So we really do need students to let their teachers know when they are having trouble. And then if you've got to the point with some work where you're having trouble, but you're perhaps working independently at home and you're feeling a bit frustrated, make sure you've sent off what you need help with or the questions you want to ask. Take a little break for a few minutes, and then you might want to go back to doing some more work on that subject, or if you're feeling completely stuck on that subject, you might want to start some work on another subject while you wait for that reply. It's important to remember that teachers during the school day are also involved in other online classes and online meetings where they're doing planning around remote learning, so they may not be able to get back to you straight away. So it's important to then move on and do something else that you feel comfortable doing so that you're making progress and moving ahead as well. The other thing it's important to remember is that the school day, as we've said, is a normal school day. So it's running from 9 in the morning through to 3:05 in terms of classes. If you email your teacher at 11 o'clock at night, please do not expect them to reply at that time. They also have their own families they need to look after. They're also doing a lot of preparation for you. So just rest assured that they will get back to you as soon as they can. In the absolute perfect world, our IT that we all use would work perfectly the whole time. We'd have no internet connectivity issues, and everyone would have all the technology they needed at their fingertips when they needed it. We know that that's not necessarily the case, and that there are a number of reasons that while we're working remotely, we might all have some issues with the IT we're using, and that could be hardware issues with things breaking down and not working. Software from time to time can break down, or you might have trouble putting the software you need onto the device. We all have been known in the past, I think, to have issues with our passwords, and we've needed to get them reset. And the big unknown for everyone is internet connectivity issues. So on different days or at different times of day, you might find the internet is working better, or sometimes it might be particularly slow. Please, we're just going to remind you all that if you need support with IT, the first thing you should do is email the email address that's on the screen, it@tlsc.vic.edu.au. Try and be as specific as you can with the issue or problem you're having. So it might be, I need the password for Compass reset, or I'm having trouble opening up my student email, or I'm trying to download a particular software program, and be specific about the program. And the IT team will get back to you as quickly as they can with some advice. If that still doesn't help, let them know that you still need a bit more support, and they'll continue to support you through those issues. Working flexible and remotely is very new for everyone, for students, for families, and for teachers. So it's not unusual to feel a little bit overwhelmed at times and to need to talk that out with someone. So we encourage all our students to talk to your parents about any concerns you're feeling, talk to your classroom teachers as well. It's important to know that the school's wellbeing team is still on board at school as normal and as it always would be. So if you're needing to get some extra support, or feeling like you might need some support, or perhaps one of your friends you've noticed you think they might need some support, talk to someone about it. And you can do this by emailing your year level leader, for example. If you happen to already from time to time check in with the wellbeing team at school, feel free to continue to do that. Send off an email to the person that you normally work with, and they'll get in contact with you. It is a very different situation we're all working through, and the way we get through it is the way we would get through anything else, and that's by working together and supporting each other. So if you're worried about your well-being, or if you're a parent listening to this recording and you're worried about your child, please don't hesitate to contact the year level leaders, and we can get support in place, and the wellbeing team are there to help everyone. Well, that concludes our first remote learning video. We would like to take the opportunity to thank all of the members of our school community, our parents, our students, and our teachers, who are all working hard to make this work. We know that as we move forward, there'll be more questions, and we welcome those, and we'll continue to provide information out to the community as quickly as we can. We are looking to make some more videos where we need to support this work. Please, if there's anything you have a further question about at the moment or any concerns that you have, don't hesitate to let us know. We are all in this together and we will get through it together. Our school community has always been a strong community that rallies together and supports each other, and at this time, we know that's no different. We're all here to help each other. Thank you for watching.